I never thought my life would change because of one sentence, but it did. I was standing in a room full of people when my wife Talia pointed at me during a conversation and announced that I was only good for the small things because I wasn't man enough for the rest. The crowd laughed. She laughed the loudest. She didn't know I had already uncovered the secret she thought she had hidden so well. She didn't know that her joke was about to become the moment she would regret forever. I met Talia when we were both 27. We were young, hopeful, and completely convinced that love was the answer to everything. We spent long evenings walking, talking, and planning a future that felt real and solid. She liked to tease me playfully in private, but it was always gentle, always framed with warmth. At least, that was what I believed. We moved in together, built routines, cooked together, argued and made up. Everything felt like it had a rhythm, the kind of rhythm that makes you think nothing could ever go wrong. But then, little things began to feel off. Talia became obsessed with her appearance. She stayed out longer, claiming to meet new friends. Her phone never left her hand. She guarded it like some precious artifact. She told me I was overthinking, that couples needed space, that I should stop being insecure. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe the woman I loved would never betray me. Still, the pit in my stomach grew heavier. One night she came home smelling like cologne I didn't own. She said it came from a crowded ride she had taken. I nodded, pretending to accept her explanation, but my heart stung. A week later, she slipped up. She accidentally called me by a name that wasn't mine. She laughed it off as a silly mistake. I didn't laugh. My mind was racing, connecting dots I didn't want to see. Everything became clear on a day I will never forget. She told me she would be out late with friends. My instincts screamed at me to follow. I drove quietly behind her, feeling guilt and dread twist in my chest. She wasn't heading toward a restaurant or a home. She pulled into a small house across town, and then he stepped out to greet her, a man I had never seen. They hugged too long, too close. She touched his face in a way she hadn't touched mine in months. My chest tightened as I watched them disappear inside together. I sat outside, frozen and hollow. I felt humiliation swell inside me so violently it was hard to breathe. When she returned home later, she acted sweet, casual, like nothing had happened. I realized then that the woman I loved had become a stranger wearing her smile. I wanted revenge, but I wanted it delivered in a way she would never forget. So when she mocked me publicly, when she belittled me in front of all those people, I stayed calm. I watched her laugh, but inside, I was preparing the moment that would turn her laughter into shock. The next evening, I invited everyone who had been in that room to our home, friends, family, people she adored showing off to. She thought I was planning a dinner to make up for being embarrassed. She came dressed beautifully, almost glowing with confidence. When everyone arrived, I asked them to join me in the living room. Talia smiled, expecting a speech about how amazing she was. Instead, I played the video from the small camera I had installed near our front door. The footage showed her stepping into the other man's home, hugging him, kissing him, walking inside, and not coming out for hours. Gasps filled the room. Her face drained of color. The same people she humiliated me in front of now stared at her with disbelief. She whispered that I had misunderstood. She tried to say it was nothing, her excuses tangled in the air, weak and trembling. But the truth was already exposed. I calmly announced that she should pack her things because she would not be living with me anymore. I had already arranged everything for her to leave that night. The shock on her face was absolute. When she tried to plead with me, the same people who had laughed at her joke earlier now avoided her eyes. Silence surrounded her. As she walked out, her confidence gone, I felt something unexpected. Peace, not joy, not victory, just peace. The kind that comes when you finally release someone who was destroying you quietly. I rebuilt my life slowly. I spent time healing, reflecting, understanding my worth again. I learned that love is not proven by suffering, and trust is not something you give blindly. Some people teach you lessons by breaking you, but you grow stronger by repairing yourself. Karma came for Talia in the most poetic way. The man she cheated with left her 2 months later. She tried reaching out to people she once impressed, but none of them wanted to be part of her story anymore. Her downfall wasn't loud, but it was complete. The lesson is simple. When you humiliate someone who loves you, life has a way of turning the mirror back to you. Respect is earned, trust is precious, and betrayal does not go unpunished. For more real stories of heartbreak, revenge, and transformation, subscribe to SilkMirror and never miss the next chapter.